The space around the shattered moon was quiet, but not peaceful. Pieces of rock floated like silent ghosts, reminders of a long-forgotten war. Among them, a small human repair ship hovered, its lights blinking steadily. Inside, Darren was finishing. A long shift. He was a simple human, sharp eyes, messy hair, grease on his hands. He worked alone most days, fixing ships that came through the neutral zone. It wasn't exciting work, but he liked it. Machines didn't lie. And in space, honesty was rare. That day, a new ship arrived. Bigger than usual. Smooth design, glowing silver, clearly not human. A Shaolin war vessel. Darren blinked. He hadn't seen one that close before. The Shaolin were known for their beauty, speed, and pride. They didn't ask for help from humans. So when the landing ramp opened and a tall alien woman stepped out, Darren froze. She wore dark armor with silver lines. Her skin a soft pale blue. Her hair flowed like starlight, and her eyes glowed a calm, strange violet. She walked like a soldier but carried herself like someone who had seen many things. "I am Alira, commander of the Valor. Our systems are failing," she said in a voice cool and clear. "We were told you repair without asking questions." Darren stood, wiping his hands on a rag. "That's true. And I don't overcharge either. Let's see what's broken." Alira raised an eyebrow at his calm tone. Most humans would be nervous or try to impress her. Darren didn't do either. He just got to work. Over the next 3 hours, Darren crawled under panels, replaced circuits, and asked for tools without looking up. Alira stayed nearby, silent at first. But after some time, she began to watch him more closely. "You speak differently," she said. Darren looked up. "Differently than what? Than the humans I've met. You're not trying to prove anything," he shrugged. "Why would I? You came here needing help. That's all I need to know." A faint smile touched her lips. It was the first one she had shown. "You're strange." "Thanks. I'll take that as a compliment," Darren said with a grin. As hours passed, their conversation grew. She asked about his life. He told her about growing up on a space station, learning how to fix things since he was a boy. She listened closely, asking questions that showed real curiosity. He asked nothing about her people, her rank, or her mission. He didn't need to. When he handed her a tool, their fingers brushed by mistake. Both paused. Neither spoke about it. But something shifted in the silence. Later, while testing the last power relay, Darren spoke again. "I'm guessing you're not used to being around humans like me. I'm not used to being around anyone who sees me as just someone." "You're not just someone," Darren said, still looking at the machine. "But I try to treat people the way I'd want them to treat me. That's all." Alira didn't answer. But when he finally stood and said, "All done," she didn't move right away. Night cycle was beginning. Darren offered her a seat outside the repair bay, overlooking the stars. They sat together, two figures under the black sky, quiet but not awkward. Alira broke the silence. "This galaxy feels colder than it used to," Darren nodded. "Maybe. We just notice the cold more when there's no one beside us." She turned to look at him. For a long second, her glowing eyes held his. He didn't flinch. "There's something about you, human." "And there's something about you, alien," he said with a small smile. She laughed, a soft, rare sound. Then she stood. "We must go. My crew is waiting." Darren followed her to the ship. At the ramp, she paused and turned. "Darren, if I ever return, it will not be as a commander. It will be as Alira." He was surprised by her words, but all he said was, "I'll be here. Machines always break. Someone has to fix them." Her gaze lingered for a second longer than needed. Then she walked into the ship, the ramp closed, and the Valor lifted off. Darren watched until the ship vanished into the stars. He didn't know then, but that was the day his life quietly changed. And far across the galaxy, so did hers. 3 weeks after the Shaolin ship left, Darren received the first message. It wasn't like normal communication. The signal was buried inside his ship part she had asked him to double-check before takeoff. A small metal panel with hidden memory space. Darren almost missed it. But something about Elira's last words made him curious. So he scanned the part again, and the message revealed itself. The file opened with a soft hum. A glowing Shaolin symbol appeared, then changed into human language. "If you're reading this, I trusted you." Darren leaned forward. His hands were still dirty from engine oil, but he didn't care. He read every word with full attention. Elira had sent him a personal note, short, direct, but honest. She thanked him. She said she didn't expect kindness from a human, but she had found it. She hoped their paths would cross again. He stared at the screen for a long time, then smiled. He sent a reply. Not through official channels. Those were monitored. Instead, he wrote a short message and hid it inside a cleaning protocol file from an old mining drone. He uploaded it to a forgotten satellite, used only by deep space travelers. It was a long shot, but he had a feeling Elira would know where to look. His message was simple. "You're welcome. And you're not as cold as you pretend to be." Weeks turned into months. Then her second message came. This time, she used an old star chart file as a cover. The map looked normal, but when rotated a certain way, it revealed a new message. "Strange human," I laughed. "That hasn't happened in a long time," Darren chuckled. "So she does have a sense of humor," he muttered to himself. That was the beginning of something unexpected. They couldn't talk directly or often. But over the next 2 years, their hidden messages continued. Elira shared stories of her world, the strict rules, the cold halls of power, the endless need to follow duty. Darren replied with stories of his small workshop, the people he met, the quiet joys of fixing broken things. Through those messages, they learned about each other. Elira discovered that humans could be both strong and gentle. That some humans, like Darren, didn't want power or glory, they just wanted peace. Darren learned that the Shaolin were not emotionless. They just weren't allowed to show their hearts. But Elira's heart was full of thoughts she had never spoken until now. They never said the words directly. But something warm, something deep, had started between them. Then one day, the messages stopped. Darren waited. He checked the relay every day. For a week, then 2. Then a month. Nothing. At first, he thought she might be busy. Then he wondered if something had happened to her ship. After 3 months, worry turned into silence. After 6, he stopped checking every day. After a year, he told himself to forget. But deep down, he couldn't. By the time 2 years had passed since her last message, Darren had changed. He left his job in the neutral zone and took over an old, half-broken dock station on the far edge of human territory. It was quiet there, far from war, far from politics. Just a few traders, some repair work, and the sound of stars humming beyond the walls. People thought he liked being alone. They didn't know he was waiting for someone he couldn't even explain. Sometimes at night, he'd look at the stars and wonder where she was. Wonder if she ever thought of him. Wonder if maybe he had imagined the connection, but his heart told him it was real. One evening, while fixing a broken water pump, he felt a strange pulse in the station's long-range sensor. It was weak, hidden, and cloaked in old code, but something about it felt familiar. He rushed to the console, cleaned up the signal, and found a name, Elira, but it wasn't a message. It was a ship ID tag, one he hadn't seen in years. Her ship was approaching the outer edge of the system. No communication. No signal requests. Just movement. Darren stared at the screen. Could it really be her? After all this time? He waited. The ship slowed near his station, then stopped. He walked to the main airlock, heart pounding. He stood there as the hatch opened. A figure stepped through the doorway. Tall, graceful, but changed. Her armor was dusty. Her hair tied back roughly. She looked like she had been through battles, and not all of them were outside. But the moment she saw him, her face softened. Darren didn't speak. Neither did she. Alira took one slow step forward and whispered, "You didn't forget." "I tried," Darren said quietly. "I couldn't." Her eyes glowed gently, filled with something more human than alien, and without another word, they stood in silence, two old souls who had never truly let go. Darren stood still as the tall alien woman walked slowly into the docking bay. She didn't wear her polished armor this time. Her suit was scratched, patched in places, and her boots looked worn from long travel. But it was her, Alira, the silence. Between them wasn't cold, it was heavy with emotion, like a song with no words. "I didn't think I would ever see you again," Darren finally said. Alira looked around the old repair station. "You stayed close to the stars," she replied, her voice soft. "I hoped you would." Darren gave a small smile. "I never really left them." He gestured to a small bench near the wall. She sat down slowly, like someone carrying more than just physical weight. Darren poured water into a metal cup and handed it to her. She took it with a small nod of thanks. For a moment, they just sat there. The low hum of the station was the only sound. Then Alira spoke. "I was caught," she said, not looking at him. "After my last message to you. The High Council intercepted it. They traced it back to me." Darren's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. "They accused me of breaking the code of isolation. It is forbidden for a Shaolin noble to form personal ties with humans." She paused. "I didn't deny it." Darren leaned forward, listening closely. "I told them everything," she said. "About our talks. About the feelings I didn't understand at first, but later couldn't ignore. That made it worse." "What did they do?" he asked. "I was stripped of rank. Confined to a private chamber for months. No contact, no messages, no stars. Just silence." Darren's hands clenched. "That's not justice. It was their law," Alira said, "and I broke it." Her voice cracked for the first time. "I thought I could stay strong, that I could forget you. But I couldn't. Every quiet moment, I remembered your words. Your eyes, your calm. It became the only warmth I had." Darren swallowed hard. "So how did you get out?" She looked at him now, her violet eyes full of truth. "I escaped." His eyes widened. "You left the Shaolin?" "I had to." Her voice was firm now. "I am hunted. But I would rather live as a fugitive in the stars than stay in a golden cage with no soul." Darren couldn't believe what he was hearing. She had given up everything, her home, her title, her people, all, for a connection built across messages and memories, and yet it made sense. "You came back to me," he said softly. "I never stopped thinking of you." She whispered. They sat in silence again. But this time, it was not heavy, it was peaceful. After a few minutes, Darren stood. "Come on, you look like you haven't had a warm meal in days." Alira gave him a tired smile. "Try weeks." He took her to the small kitchen unit near his quarters. It wasn't much, just a few old heating panels and food packs, but it was warm and smelled like home. Darren opened a sealed container of protein stew and started heating it. "Not fancy, but it'll fill you." Alira looked around the room. "It's simple. I like it." He glanced back at her. "You always lived in big ships and cold halls. You sure you're okay here?" "I never cared about the halls," she replied. "I cared about peace. About being seen not as a commander, not as a noble, but just as someone. You saw me that way." He nodded slowly. The stew was ready. He handed her a bowl. She took it, eating slowly, savoring each bite. For the first time since she arrived, her shoulders relaxed. When they finished eating, Darren showed her the guest quarters, small but clean. She touched the walls gently, as if amazed by the quiet. "Let you rest," he said, starting to leave. But she stopped him. "Darren," she said. He turned. I have nothing left except what I carry inside. And the one I came for. She paused, then added, that's you. He didn't reply right away. He just stepped forward, gently placed a hand on her shoulder, and nodded. Then, stay, no questions, no judgment. Her eyes shone with quiet relief. As Darren walked away that night, he looked out the station window. The stars were still there, silent, endless, watching. And somewhere deep inside, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. The next morning, soft light filled the small docking station. Darren was already awake, working on a broken energy core in the workshop. He tried to focus, but his mind kept drifting back to Alira. She had returned after all these years. She had left everything behind to come to him. But he still didn't understand why. He had questions, but he didn't want to push her too fast. Suddenly, he heard soft footsteps. He turned. Alira stood at the doorway. She wore a simple flight jacket, now one of Darren's spare ones. Her long silver hair was tied back. She looked tired, but stronger. Did I wake you? He asked. No, she said, walking over. I couldn't sleep. My mind was full. Darren nodded and motioned to the bench beside him. She sat down quietly. There was a long pause before Alira finally spoke. Back on my homeworld, she said slowly. I was more than a commander. I was born into one of the 5 ruling houses of Shaleen. My name carried weight. Every step I took was watched. Every word judged. Darren stayed silent. He knew this was something important. From a young age, she continued, I was told who I could speak to, who I could befriend, who I could love. Even feelings were considered weakness. She looked at him. But then, I met you. Darren gave a small smile. And ruined your perfect life? No, she said, shaking her head. You opened my eyes. She stood now, slowly walking around the workshop. You never tried to impress me. You didn't treat me like a symbol. You just saw me. As Alira, no title, no name. Just me. She stopped beside a glowing star map on the wall. Her fingers gently touched the glass. After I sent you my last message, the council found it. They used it to accuse me of disloyalty. They told me I had shamed my bloodline. That I would marry someone they chose. Someone I didn't love. Darren looked down, anger rising quietly in his chest. They gave me one choice. Forget you and accept their control, or be locked away, hidden from the world. Her voice grew cold. I chose silence. But even locked away, I never stopped remembering. She turned to him. You once said machines don't lie, but I think hearts don't lie either. Darren stepped forward. You didn't know me any of this, but I'm glad you told me. Alira lowered her head. I didn't come here just to escape. I came because I didn't want to live a life without truth. And you, Darren, you were the only truth I found. He didn't speak. He simply took her hand and held it. For a moment, nothing else mattered. Not the stars, not the past. Just them, later. That day, they sat in the small dining space, sipping warm tea. The lights were dim, the station calm. Will they follow you? Darren asked carefully. Alira nodded. Yes, my leaving was seen as a betrayal. The Shaleen don't accept shame easily. How long until they find you? I don't know, but they will search. Darren looked around the station. It was strong, but not a fortress. If someone wanted to come, they could. I can't protect you from a fleet, he said quietly. I'm not asking you to, Alira replied. I didn't come to hide behind you. I came to stand beside you. He looked at her. Then what do we do now? We find a place where they won't control us, she said. A place beyond borders, beyond rules. Somewhere we can just be who we are. Darren thought for a moment, then nodded. I know a place. A hidden settlement out near the gas giant Talnos 4. Humans and others live there. It's small, off-grid, peaceful. She smiled. Then that's where we go. But The journey is long, dangerous. I've faced worse, Alira said. They stood side by side. For the first time they were not speaking as human and alien. Not as mechanic and commander, but as two people who had chosen each other, no matter what came next. Before nightfall, they prepared the ship. Darren gathered supplies, tools, food, power cells. Alira checked the engines, reprogrammed the navigation, and added security shields. As the ship powered up, Darren paused at the doorway. "You're sure about this?" he asked one last time. Alira stepped beside him. "I've never been more sure of anything." Together, they boarded the vessel and left the station behind. As the stars passed by outside the window, Alira sat beside Darren in the cockpit. She looked at him and said softly, "Do you think two souls from different worlds can make a home together?" Darren smiled. "Let's find out." And the ship flew onward, carrying two lives that had been broken, but now moved forward together into something new. The ship flew quietly through the outer edges of space. Inside, Darren and Alira worked side by side, checking systems, watching the radar, and planning their next move. Their destination was a hidden human colony near the gas giant Talmos 4. It was far, peaceful, and off the official star maps, exactly the kind of place where they could disappear and start over. But reaching it wouldn't be easy. They had to pass through the red field, a wide space filled with old war debris and unstable energy pockets. And worse, it was a place often watched by Shaolin patrols. Darren adjusted the course while Alira scanned the long-range sensors. Her eyes narrowed. "There's a small craft 2 light minutes behind us," she said. "Shaolin?" Darren asked. "Looks like it. No beacon, no reply signal." Darren sighed. "So they followed you after all?" Alira nodded. "We need to be careful." Over the next hour, the ship flew deeper into the red field. Broken pieces of old ships floated around them. Some were human, some were Shaolin. All were reminders of a war that had ended years ago, but never truly disappeared from memory. Suddenly, the sensor beeped. "They've increased speed," Alira said. "They're closing in." Darren stood up. "Then it's time to be clever." Alira watched as he rushed to the storage room. He opened a crate filled with old mining tools, wires, and scrap metal. She tilted her head. "What are you doing?" "Giving them a problem to chase," he said with a grin. He pulled out a small drone, dusty and half-broken. He began rewiring it quickly, his hands fast and sure. Alira came closer, curious. "I'm going to attach this drone to one of our extra fuel pods," Darren explained. "Then program it to copy our engine signal. It will look like we're escaping in that direction." Alira raised an eyebrow. "Will that really fool them?" Darren smiled. "They expect a soldier's move, not a mechanic's trick." She watched him work, impressed. She had seen powerful weapons, high-level tactics, but this simple, creative idea was something special. Within minutes, Darren finished the setup. They released the fake pod into space. It flew fast, making the exact signal as their ship. "Now, we wait," he said. 10 minutes later, the radar showed the enemy ship changing course, chasing the decoy. Alira smiled for the first time that day. It worked. Darren leaned back in his chair. Sometimes the best weapon is a little junk and a smart mind. But their peace didn't last long. Just as they approached the edge of the red field, another signal appeared. A second ship, larger, faster. "They sent more than one," Alira said, eyes sharp. This time, escape wasn't possible. The second ship was blocking their path. It sent out a message: "Surrender the Shaolin traitor, or be destroyed." Darren looked at Alira. "What do we do?" She stood slowly. Her face was calm, but her voice was steady and strong. "We don't give in." Darren nodded. "Then let's make it hard for them." He quickly opened the ship's emergency systems and activated the flare module, a tool used to distract sensors during engine failure. Alira rerouted power to the outer shields. The enemy ship fired a warning shot, just close enough to shake their hull. Darren hit the flare button. Bright lights burst out behind their ship, blinding the sensors of the enemy. For a few seconds, that was enough, Alira shouted. Now! Darren pulled the controls hard, flying straight through a narrow path between two huge pieces of wreckage. The enemy fired again, but missed. Then, Alira did something unexpected. She turned on the communication channel and spoke in her native language calmly, with power. What are you doing? Darren whispered. I'm speaking to the commander. I know him, she replied. After a long silence, the enemy ship paused. Then, without warning, it turned and left. Darren stared in shock. What did you say to him? I reminded him of who I used to be and what I chose. Her voice softened. He respected it, even if he didn't agree. The ship continued through the last stretch of space. They were safe. For now. As the stars returned to calm outside their window, Darren finally exhaled. You were amazing, Alira looked at him. So were you. I've never seen someone use a broken drone and a fuel pod as a defense system. Darren chuckled. That's human creativity for you. She sat beside him. You saved me again. We saved each other, he replied. And in that quiet moment, they didn't need words. Just being there alive together was enough. Their journey wasn't over. But now, they believed in something stronger than fear. They believed in each other. The ship floated above the green clouds of Talmos 4, a massive gas giant surrounded by glowing rings and distant lightning. Beneath the gas storms, one of its rocky moons shined with life. That small moon, hidden from most star maps, held the colony New Liner, a quiet place where humans, traitors, and outcasts lived together in peace. Darren brought the ship down gently on the main landing pad. It was old but strong, built from leftover station parts and local stone. As the engines powered down, Alira stood beside him, silent. This is it, Darren said softly. Our new home. Alira nodded. It's not what I'm used to. But maybe that's a good thing. They stepped outside. The air was crisp. A cool wind blew from the nearby hills. Around them stood simple buildings, solar towers, and greenhouses glowing under protective domes. People walked between the homes: farmers, workers, engineers. Some glanced at the ship. A few stared when they saw Alira. One man approached, tall with gray hair and sharp eyes. He carried a tool belt and walked with purpose. Name's Griff, he said. I run most of the tech here. You must be Darren. Darren shook his hand. Yeah, thanks for agreeing to take us in. Griff looked at Alira for a moment. Shelling, huh? That's rare out here. She's a friend, Darren said firmly. Griff gave a slow nod. Long as you pull your weight and don't bring trouble. You're welcome. Alira met his gaze. I'm not here to cause harm, only to live free. Griff pointed to an old dome at the edge of the town. There's a repair shed and a place to sleep. Not fancy, but quiet. You can start there. Over the next few days, Darren and Alira settled into their new life. Darren repaired solar panels, fixed water pumps, and helped upgrade the colony's communication systems. The people slowly started to trust him. He was quiet, worked hard, and didn't ask for special treatment. Alira offered her skills and security. She taught a few younger settlers how to handle sensors and defend their equipment. At first, people were unsure of her. Her alien look, her warrior past, they made some nervous. But over time, they saw her kindness, her strength, and her respect for their way of life. One day, a little girl brought Alira a small bunch of flowers. You look like the stars, she said. Alira smiled, surprised. Thank you. That means more than you know. At night, Darren and Alira would sit outside their dome, watching the gas giant swirl above them. Its light danced on the fields and made the wind feel alive. I've lived in royal chambers, on ships of gold, Alira said one evening. But this This is the first time I feel free. Darren looked at her. Funny, I always thought I needed to escape the galaxy to find peace. But maybe I just needed the right person beside me. They shared a quiet laugh, their bond growing deeper every day. One afternoon, trouble arrived. A trader ship landed in the main square. It carried supplies and news. One of the traders pulled Darren aside. "You've got a target on your head," he whispered. "The Shalin put out a silent bounty, not for you, but for her." Darren's eyes narrowed. "How much?" "Too much," the trader said. "Someone out there will take the job." Darren told Alira that evening. She listened, then stood still. For a moment thinking, "I don't want anyone here to be in danger," she said. "You're not leaving," Darren said quickly. "But, no," he interrupted. "We didn't come all this way to hide again. We're building a life, and I won't let fear take that away." Alira looked at him, touched by his words. "Then we protect this life. Together." The next day, Darren met with Griff and the Colony Council. He explained the situation honestly. There was silence for a while. Griff finally spoke. "You've helped us more in 3 weeks than some do in 3 years. And Alira? She's taught my nephew how to track movement better than any soldier I've met." An older woman added, "She helped us fix the West Dome's defense tower. We were blind out there before." A younger man said, "I feel safer with her around." Griff nodded. "Then we stand with you." Alira heard this from the back of the room. She didn't say anything, but her eyes glowed brighter than usual. They reinforced the colony's defenses, added new codes to the gates, updated old cameras. Everyone helped, young and old, human and alien alike. No one knew if the bounty hunters would come. But if they did, they'd find more than just a Shalin exile and a quiet mechanic. They'd find a community willing to stand as one. And that, more than weapons or ships, was what made this place strong. That night, as rain softly fell on the dome roof, Alira leaned against Darren's shoulder. "I think I've found what I was searching for," she whispered. Darren smiled. "Me too." Weeks passed in peace. The colony on Talnos IV's moon grew stronger. Crops flourished, the power grids ran smoothly, and people began smiling more often. Darren and Alira became part of that daily life, helping, teaching, and quietly building. Something that felt like a real home, but peace never lasted forever. One morning, while Darren was repairing a greenhouse filter, the early warning alarm rang. A red light flashed on the dome wall. Alira, who had been helping the children at the school dome, immediately rushed to the control station. Griff stood at the main screen, frowning. "Small ship. Fast. No ID." Alira's eyes narrowed. "Bounty hunter." Darren arrived just behind. "Her. Is it just one?" Griff nodded. "Seems like it. But skilled." The ship landed near the southern hill, outside the colony fence. The hunter didn't send a message. He simply waited. The Colony Council gathered quickly. Some people were afraid. Others were angry. A few asked if Alira should leave to avoid putting them in danger, but Griff stood up. "She is one of us now. We don't abandon family." Darren looked around. "Let me talk to him first. If it turns bad, we'll be ready." Alira stepped forward. "No, I'll go with you." He met her eyes, together then. They walked to the south gate. The hunter stood on a flat rock, arms crossed. He wore dark armor and had a mask over his face. But his eyes showed he was calm and serious. "You're Alira," the hunter said without emotion. "You're wanted by your people." Alira stood tall. "I'm not one of them anymore. They say you abandoned your duty. I followed my heart." The hunter looked at Darren. "And you? You must be the human she chose over an empire." Darren didn't move. "She didn't choose me over an empire. She chose herself, and I stood beside her." The wind blew quietly through the grass around them. The hunter paused. "You're worth a fortune, Alira. he said. But I don't enjoy hurting good people. She replied, then don't. There was silence. Finally, the hunter reached up and removed his mask. He was younger than expected, with sharp features and tired eyes. I've seen too many lies in this galaxy, he said. But what you two have, it doesn't feel like a lie. He turned and walked back toward his ship dock before boarding. He called out, I'll report you were already gone. Don't make me a liar. And with that, he left. The colony watched from the towers. When the bounty hunter's ship disappeared into the clouds, cheers echoed through the fields. Alira and Darren returned to the main square. People came forward, not with fear, but with food, gifts, and open arms. The message was clear. They were no longer strangers. They were part of the family. That night, a celebration was held under the dome lights. Music played, simple food was shared, and laughter filled the air. Children danced. Adults told stories. And Darren, standing near the center, raised his cup. We came here to escape, he said. But what we found was a beginning. Alira stood beside him. I lost everything to find freedom. But in this place, with all of you, and with him, I found something greater than duty. I found meaning. Everyone clapped. Some even had tears in their eyes. Later that evening, when the crowd had gone to sleep, Darren and Alira walked to the top of a small hill behind their home dome. The stars above were bright and endless. Do you think they'll ever stop chasing you? Darren asked softly. Alira looked up at the sky. Maybe, maybe not, but I'm not running anymore. I've already found what they never understood. Darren glanced at her. What's that? That peace isn't found in control or power. It's found in choosing who we want to be and who we want to be with. He smiled. I think you're becoming more human. She laughed lightly. Or maybe you're becoming more Shaolin. They sat together, watching the sky. Suddenly, Alira's communicator blinked. She opened it carefully. A message appeared, encoded but clear. Your choice has sparked questions. Some of us believe you were right to leave. We may come to find you soon, not with weapons, but with hope. Darren read it over her shoulder. Looks like your people are beginning to see what you saw. She nodded. It's just the beginning. Far above the moon, stars shone like silent watchers. And on the quiet land below, two souls, one human, one alien, sat together. They had crossed space, defied rules, escaped power, and built something stronger than any empire. Not a kingdom, not a throne, but a home. And in that home, the future was not written by bloodlines or war, but by love, choice, and the bond that changed two worlds.